In 2005, Ridley Scott brought to life a historical epic that transported audiences to the heart of the Crusades. Join us today as we delve into the world of Kingdom of Heaven. Set in the 12th century, Kingdom of Heaven follows the journey of Balian of Ibelin, a blacksmith-turned-knight who finds himself embroiled in the conflict between Christians and Muslims in the Holy Land. Portrayed by Orlando Bloom, Balian's quest for redemption and honor takes him from the streets of France to the besieged city of Jerusalem. With its stunning visuals and intricate storytelling, Kingdom of Heaven offers a glimpse into a turbulent period of history where religion, politics, and warfare collide. Led by an ensemble cast of talented actors, including Eva Green, Jeremy Irons, and Liam Neeson. The film brings to life a diverse array of characters, each with their own motivations and struggles. Upon its release, Kingdom of Heaven received critical acclaim for its performances, direction, and attention to historical detail, earning nominations and awards from prestigious organizations. Under the visionary direction of Ridley Scott, the film masterfully captures the brutality and beauty of the Crusades, offering audiences an immersive cinematic experience. As we reflect on the legacy of Kingdom of Heaven, it remains a timeless epic that continues to captivate audiences with its powerful storytelling and unforgettable characters. Balian of Ibelin travels to Jerusalem during the Crusades of the 12th century, and there he finds himself as the defender of the city and its people. It is the time of the Crusades during the Middle Ages, the world shaping to a collision between Europe and the East. A blacksmith named Balian has lost his family and nearly his faith. The religious wars raging in the far-off Holy Land seem remote to him, yet he is pulled into that immense drama. Amid the pageantry and intrigue of medieval Jerusalem, he falls in love, grows into a leader, and ultimately uses all his courage and skill to defend the city against staggering odds. Destiny comes seeking Balian in the form of a great knight, Godfrey of Ibelin, a crusader briefly home to France from fighting in the East. Revealing himself as Balian's father, Godfrey shows him the true meaning of knighthood and takes him on a journey across continents to the fabled Holy City. In Jerusalem at that moment between the Second and Third Crusades, a fragile peace prevails. Through the efforts of its enlightened Christian king, Baldwin IV, aided by his advisor Tiberius, and the military restraint of the legendary Muslim leader Saladin Ayyubi. But Baldwin's days are numbered, and strains of fanaticism, greed, and jealousy among the Crusaders threaten to shatter the truce. King Baldwin's vision of peace, a Kingdom of Heaven, is shared by a handful of knights, including Godfrey of Ibelin, who swear to uphold it with their lives and honor. As Godfrey passes his sword to his son, he also passes on that sacred oath to protect the helpless, safeguard the peace, and work toward harmony between religions and cultures so that a Kingdom of Heaven can flourish on earth. Balian takes the sword and steps into history. In 1184, French village blacksmith Balian just lost his wife through suicide, grief-stricken by their child's death. The Crusader, Lord Godfrey, Baron of Ibelin, reveals himself as Balian's father and offers him a Crusader life, which the youngster spontaneously rejects. But after the local priest taunts him till his sword strikes fatally, accepts. Fleeing the French bishop's bloody justice and seeking divine forgiveness as promised to Crusaders in Jerusalem. On the way, Balian is instructed the skills of war and chivalric honor code, and dubbed a knight in Messina by his father, who was fatally wounded fighting off the bishop's men. After shipwreck on the Levantine coast, Balian soon proves himself a superior knight as fighter and noble idealist. In the loyal service of leper King Baldwin, whose pragmatic right hand, the Count of Tiberias, fails to convince Balian the ruthless knight Reynald de Chatillon and his traitorous master, candidate to the throne Guy de Lusignan, must be stopped by all means before they plunge the Crusader kingdom in a fatal war against the noble, militarily far superior Saracen King Saladin. When Tiberias is proven right, he leaves for Cyprus. Brave Balian stays to defend besieged Jerusalem against impossible odds. In a remote village in 1184 France, Balian Orlando Bloom, a blacksmith, is haunted by his wife's recent suicide. A group of crusaders arrive. One of them introduces himself as Balian's father, Baron Godfrey of Evelyn Liam Neeson. Godfrey asks Balian to return with him to Jerusalem. Balian refuses and the crusaders leave. The town priest, Balian's half-brother Michael Sheen, reveals that he ordered Balian's wife beheaded before burial, a customary practice for people who commit suicide. Balian notices his brother wearing the cross that his wife wore before she was to be buried. In a fit of rage, Balian kills his brother, retrieves the crucifix, and flees the village. Balian pursues his father in the hope of gaining forgiveness and redemption for him and his wife in Jerusalem. After he reaches Godfrey, soldiers led by Godfrey's nephew arrive, ostensibly to arrest Balian. In reality, the nephew intends to assassinate Balian and Godfrey, so that his father, and eventually he, may inherit Godfrey's barony. Godfrey refuses to surrender Balian. The nephew launches a sneak attack against Godfrey. The attack fails and Godfrey kills his nephew but is struck by an arrow that breaks off in his body. In Messina, Godfrey knights Balian and orders him to serve the king of Jerusalem and protect the helpless, before succumbing to his injuries. Godfrey asks Balian to help the king maintain peace between Christians and Muslims. During Balian's journey to Jerusalem, his ship runs aground in a storm, leaving Balian and a horse as the only survivors. When Balian releases the horse from the wreckage, it flees in panic. Following the horse, Balian is confronted by a Muslim cavalier and his servant. A fight over the horse follows and Balian reluctantly slays the cavalier when attacked, but spares the servant, asking him to guide him to Jerusalem. Upon arriving, Balian gives the horse to the servant and releases him. The man tells him his slain master was an important knight among the Saracens, the Muslim warriors laying claim to Jerusalem. His deed will gain him fame and respect from them. Balian becomes acquainted with Jerusalem's political arena. The leper King Baldwin for Edward Norton. Tiberias Jeremy irons the Marshal of Jerusalem, the king's sister, Princess Sibylla Eva Green, and her husband Guy de Lusignan Marton Czokas, who supports the anti-Muslim activities of brutal factions like the Knights Templar. Guy intends to rule after Baldwin's death and seeks to provoke a war that will allow him to dispose of the Muslims and claim the kingdom for the Christians. Tiberias helps the king to thwart Guy and his ambitions of war between Christians and Muslims. Sibylla takes a liking to Balian and visits him in his barony at Evelyn and has sex with him there. Balian immerses himself in the betterment of his barony by digging wells for water and uses that for irrigation. Guy and his CEO conspirator, Reynald of Chatillon Brendan Gleeson, massacre a Muslim trade caravan with the aid of the Templars. Saladin Ghassan Masoud, leader of the Muslim forces, advances on Karab, Reynald's castle, to punish him for his crime. Balyen protects the villagers entering the castle from Saladin's cavalry, despite a request from Reynald to withdraw. Though outnumbered, Balyen and his knights charge Saladin's cavalry, allowing the villagers time to flee. A fierce, but one-sided battle ensues in which Balyen's knights are captured. In the enemy camp, Balyen encounters the servant he freed, Imad ad-Din Alexander Siddig. Learning he is actually Saladin's chancellor, who releases Balyen to enter Kerak. Saladin arrives with his army to besiege Kerak, and him Baldwin for approaches with his. They negotiate a Muslim retreat, and Baldwin swears to punish Reynald. Baldwin confronts Reynald, forcing him onto his knees. As Reynald grovels for mercy, Baldwin slaps him a few times and forces Reynald to kiss his diseased hand. The exertion of these events causes Baldwin to collapse, weakened beyond recovery. Saladin assures his generals that he will reclaim Jerusalem, but only when he is confident of victory. Baldwin asks Balyen to marry Sibylla, knowing they have affection for each other. But Balyen refuses, because in order for the marriage to occur, Guy would have to be killed. Balyen refuses as this is against his religion and faith. After Baldwin dies, Sibylla succeeds her brother and names her son king. But soon the son is diagnosed with leprosy and Sibylla cannot endure the horror of her son going through what her brother went through as a leper. Sibylla kills her own son and Guy ends up being king. Guy releases Reynald, asking him to give him a war, which Reynald does by murdering Saladin's sister. When Saladin's emissary relays demand for the return of his sister's body, the heads of those responsible, and the surrender of Jerusalem, Guy decapitates the emissary and sends his head back to Damascus. Guy sends 3 Templars to assassinate Balyen, since he is the most strident voice against a war. Though Balyen survives the assassination attempt in council, war is agreed upon because God wills it, and against sound advice they march into the desert to fight Saladin, leaving Jerusalem unguarded except for Balyen, Tiberius, their knights, a few remaining Crusader soldiers, and the townspeople. Saladin's army attacks the Crusaders, and in the ensuing battle the Crusaders are annihilated. Guy and Reynald are captured. Saladin executes Reynald, and then marches on Jerusalem, sparing Guy as king only out of tradition. Tiberius and his men leave for Cyprus, believing Jerusalem is lost, but Balyen and his knights remain to protect the villagers. Knowing they cannot defeat the Saracens, they hope to hold their enemies off long enough for the Saracens to offer terms. After a battle that lasts 3 days, Saladin offers terms. Balyen surrenders Jerusalem when Saladin offers the inhabitants safe passage to Christian lands. In the marching column of citizens, he finds Sibylla, who has renounced her claim as Queen of Jerusalem and other cities. After Balyen returns to his village in France, English knights ride through looking for Balyen, defender of Jerusalem. Balyen replies that he is the blacksmith, and the man leading the knights identifies himself as King Richard I of England III in Glen, and they commence a new crusade to retake Jerusalem. Balyen responds that he is merely a blacksmith, and Richard rides off. Balyen is joined by Sibylla, and passing by the grave of Balyen's wife, they ride toward a new life together. There can be no victory except through God. Kingdom of Heaven is directed by Ridley Scott and written by William Monahan. It stars Orlando Bloom, Eva Green, Marton Czokas, Jeremy Irons, Liam Neeson, Alexander Siddig, David Thewlis, Gleeson Massoud, and Edward Norton. Cinematography is by John Mathieson and music scored by Harry Gregson Williams. Director's cut, 2 words that has these days come to mean a marketing ploy to get the whole movie fan to part with more cash. Except maybe when they call it something else, such as unrated edition or extended edition. The director's cut has rarely been more than the original theatrical version, with some added bits sewed back in. Case in point, Ridley Scott's own Gladiator. But Scott is a big advocate of the home formats available to us. And what he says in his introduction on these releases are always telling. Kingdom of Heaven, director's cut, is one of the rare cases that deserves the label. It is the cut Scott wanted, and with 45 minutes extra in the film. It's now a fully formed epic, and without doubt a better film than the one the theatrical cut suggested. Nutshell plotting finds the story set during the Crusades of the 12th century. Balian Bloom is a French village blacksmith who, after finally meeting his father Godfrey Neeson, sets him on a course to aid the city of Jerusalem in its defense against the Muslim leader Saladin Massoud. Saladin is battling to reclaim the city from the Christians. It's a fictionalized account of Balian the Ibelin the man, but with the Crusades featuring so rarely in movies, it's good too. See one with attention to detail in relation to the events and time period. Now this version exists, there is no reason to visit the theatrical cut. For although this has 1 or 2 missteps in the narrative, big holes have been plugged and characters importantly expanded. Benefiting the most are Eva Green as Sibylla and Bloom himself as Balian. The former now gets substance on why she transforms from a measured princess to a borderline head case. And the latter gets a backstory which helps us understand why he does what he does. Both actors' performances are seen in better light as their characters become more defined. Neeson and Norton, too, also get more screen time, and that can never be a bad thing. In this day and age, the topicality of the film as regards Muslims and Christians is obviously hard to ignore. But Scott and Monaghan are not in the market for political posturing. Scott had long wanted to do a film about the Crusades to make it an historical epic adventure reflecting the period, and he has achieved that without headbanging messages. In fact, the culmination of the film's major battle comes by way of tolerance, compassion, and mutual respect, not by over-the-top histrionics or side-picking. It's a crucial point to note that the makers have not demonized the Arab leaders. Both Saladin and Nasir Siddig are portrayed as intelligent and cultured men of standing, their drive and determination coming off as respectful as Balian's defense of Jerusalem is. They also provide the film with 2 of its best acting performances. Impressive considering the film is full of very good acting turns. It will come as no surprise to fans of Scott's work to find that Kingdom of Heaven is tremendous on production value, out with astonishing visuals and no overuse of CGI. It's arguably Scott's best production. It's certainly his most ambitious. Filmed in Spain and Morocco, the makers easily whisk us back centuries to the France and Jerusalem of the time. The ability to plant us firmly in the time frame is not to be understated. Mathieson Gladiator is a big part of that, his color lensing for France metallic cold blues. And Jerusalem dusky yellow and brown hues is a visual treat and integral to the feel of the story. While Gregson Williams' score rarely gets a mention, but it's very at one with Scott's vision. A delightful mix of ethnic strains, mystical flair and medieval emphasis. Scott also ups the ante for visceral battles, the horrors of war never more vivid as they are here. Supremely constructed, The Siege of Jerusalem is one of the finest in cinema. The first sight of fireballs igniting the night sky, bringing the hairs on the back of the neck standing to attention. It's just one of many great moments that form part of Scott's breathtaking epic. Badly treated on cinema, released by the studio, who even marketed that cut badly, Kingdom of Heaven. Director's cut is these days worthy of a revisit and deeper inspection. 4 rich rewards await the genre faithful. 9, 5, 10. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the world of Kingdom of Heaven. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content exploring the wonders of cinema.